Hi, we are on location at the Pro Family Legislative Conference here in Irving, Texas. And we have an amazing couple with us. It's Joe and Denise Kennedy. I'm sure many of you have seen or heard about Joe in his recent Supreme Court case that he just went through. And they also love marriage. And so, as everybody well knows, Kate and I are big proponents of marriage, and it's just a pleasure to have you guys here today. Thanks for coming out here and talking with us. Something I wanted to ask you, what has been the most profound moment for you guys this weekend, being here with all the legislators and all of the topics that they're bringing up? And this is our first year to be here, and it's not exactly what we expected. It has exceeded those expectations. So what about you guys? What's been a profound moment for you?
Well, mine is really the history lesson I'm getting. You don't hear about all the things. We're not taught anything in schools. So it's a huge history lesson for us. And the way that the politics working and just networking with these people and seeing what people are really doing in America. That's my biggest thing is that there are so many good people that are running our country. And that gives me hope for our future.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the character and the level of faith of everybody that's here. It's very encouraging. I mean, we've had some great results, I guess. Many of you would agree through our election process so far. And it's just the momentum is still building in a good way. And so I'm really encouraged to see that people are still moving forward and the Lord and what they're doing. And so it's very encouraging to me, and it's just great to be here. Our podcast is about highlighting leadership principles. And you're a coach, you're a leader. You guys are married. I'm sure you're leading your family. And so it's good that you're here today, but you can't really be a very effective leader today without really doing something, without doing it prayerfully, intentionally, and on purpose. So what characteristics do you think is critical for a good leader to have in order to be successful in what they're doing?
I would say my number one is leadership by example. There's so many people do as I say, not as I do. And it drives me nuts. With the whole thing between us, we wanted to set an example for our family that you stand up for what is right, no matter what the cost is, because there's right and wrong in the world. And too many people just back out of it and pretend like, oh, well, it would be so much easier. And it's not that big of a deal if I give in to this, if I give in to that. And we have kids and our football team and she taught young girls the princess thing. And so, I mean, we very much are involved with youth and we want them to know that, hey, even adults are the ones that are faced with these real everyday things. It's not just kids and there are consequences to life. Whatever your decisions is, good or bad, you have to live with them. And that's what we're trying to do and especially for married couples, I want to be that example that no matter how screwed up things are, you can make a difference and you do make a difference for just standing up.
It's really, I think, about doing the next right thing every time. And no matter what the challenge is, that should be our goal, is to do the next right thing. What would the Lord have me do? He's the king of everything. I'm there to serve him. So what is it that he wants me to do? And it's a simple process.
Yes.
But it's not very easy to do. And that's something that I like to follow. So the Bartons have been amazing through this process. You were talking about the history. I've seen them several times now. And while the theme, it might be the same, but there are so many details and things that he's talking about that are just inspiring and just completely obliterate that false narrative out there about that we're not a Christian nation. We weren't formed on Christian principles. And I love how he's doing his job to not just give a narrative, but also back it up with those facts and the letters and the documents. And they have a treasure trove of this that you can actually put your hands on. And so I really enjoyed their history lesson. Anytime I can get in front of the Bartons and hear that, that's been amazing. But for you, what are some ways that you have been able to demonstrate leadership, whether it be at the school or in the process of your legal case? Can you give us some examples of some good leadership principles that maybe you were developing them or were able to be a good leader to others?
I wish I had better words to say. I really, so much of leadership, it comes just, I think naturally God made me the way that I am, that a lot of things are just natural. Now, when I was younger, I had no discipline whatsoever, and I didn't respect authority, and I didn't believe in any kind of leadership whatsoever. And now I learned what love was, and really that's a backbone of everything, especially in leadership. That when you have love in your heart, it starts definitely with you. And I tell guys all the time that in their marriages, if they're in office, whatever it is that God has to come first. There were so many times that I put my team in front, or football, or anything else before I put her in front. And I needed to really, again, set that example of putting God center with everything. And it's amazing how things work out once you get your priorities straight, but it starts right here in yourself. I won't look at other people until I know that I got something fixed in it.
How about you? How has his leadership principles affected you in your marriage or in your family? Or do you have some examples that you could share?
I think God certainly had a plan in all of this as bringing him on as a coach. And I think the pivotal moment in him as a coach, but more importantly in our marriage, was when we're in the midst of this court case and we have gone to the Supreme Court once and they sent it, they said, but we're going to send you back down to the lower courts. And when he told me that we lost at the Supreme Court, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, and I'm thinking it's over. He's like, but great news. We get to go back. They painted this roadmap for us, and we get to go back. And I'm like, wait, what? Where I thought we were done with this because it had been at this point like 5, 6 years into it. And as a leader of the HR department at the school district and the wife of a coach that has been raked through the coals, I was done.
Yeah.
But he's like, I can't back down. And at that point, I was asking him, what is more important, this or our marriage? And he said, this,
Meaning that what he was doing for the Lord.
for the Lord.
And that was one of the hardest things I ever had to say, because I mean, she's been my everything. I proposed to her when we were 9, and she was my first love and will be my last love. And I really have spent my whole life trying to be with her. And then when she puts it that way, how do you respond to that? I mean, the person inside of me, the flesh, wants to say, you're number one. You are more important than anything else. But I wouldn't have her. I wouldn't have the job. I wouldn't have the team. I wouldn't have had anything. I couldn't be a coach. I couldn't be a husband. I couldn't be a father if I just sell out over something that would have been so much easier to step away from. And when God calls me to do something, I want to be the man of my word. He's always faithful. He's always true. And I'm only as good as my word. So I had to say that this fight was because this is what God has called me to do and blessed me with her. If I screwed that up, then what happens to the rest of us? So it was, I had a hard time explaining it to her because I'm not really good at explaining things, but it was very much where God opened her eyes and she saw that this was God. And
So I didn't, at that moment, my eyes were not opened. At this moment, I was angry and I was resentful because I wasn't assured of his purpose. I didn't know what his motivation was.
Mhm.
And when he said that it was God first, it took me a defining moment to realize, holy smokes, he has surrendered
Mhm.
to God. That's what I've been praying for. Oh, wait a minute.
He's
This
doing
is
it.
the ultimate
And he is.
leadership moment. My husband, who has rebelled his entire life to every authority possible, has surrendered to my God.
You know,
That is powerful.
I think the Lord used you to help refine his purpose.
Oh, the power of
And
a
it's
praying
transformed
wife
both of you.
is so amazing. Because that's all we had at times. We only had prayer, and we had to hang on to our marriage was just hanging by a thread. And only thing we had was our faith and prayers. And I would leave her crying, and she would be praying to God over this whole entire thing. And I'm questioning God, why are you doing this to us? And that's all we had was prayer and our faith, because sometimes we were very much alone and even estranged from each other. We felt so far apart from each other. So God brought us back.
And, you know, I would bet, I'm not a betting man, but I would bet that the years ago when you started this process, that you probably wouldn't have known what the full scope. I mean, you probably still will never know that. But when the attorneys were talking yesterday about the opportunities that are now available to believers, it's not just about you praying on a football field anymore, you know, and fighting for that right to do that or to be a good husband to your wife and honoring the Lord. But because you did honor the Lord and you were unified in that cause, he has used this and has taken your effort and multiplied it for the benefit and the good of so many believers for years to come.
And the greatest thing about that, because I only asked for two things: to be a coach and to be able to pray. And I think it was because everybody that was listening to this, all American people that started praying to God, God listened and he turned his ear to us. And I mean, overturned something and religious liberty in America over a 15-second prayer, which is not even noteworthy. This is something so simple that everybody does, everybody prays. It's not a big deal.
And it's knocked down strongholds of past cases with the lemon test and the effects of those cases where they were held to a not a very good standard. And so you have ushered in your perseverance a way and a standard that again is going to be used for years to come.
We have we're still trying to wrap our brain around, and we probably never will fully understand, but we have more religious freedom now and more than we have any of us in our entire lifetime have
That's right.
ever had because of this case. How crazy is that?
And of
God.
all people, me, you know.
This
someone
rebellious little punk
right, the
kid.
most rebellious
Yeah,
person
the
that you
least
can think
likely
of.
person you would imagine. Yeah.
But you know, that's what the Lord does, and he takes our plans, but then he knows best, so he will order those steps in his way. But we have to be willing. We have to be a willing vessel on that. So tons of people have seen the movie. They've heard about you, and now they're hearing about your marriage. What are some things that maybe people don't know about you guys?
Mm.
Something fun, maybe.
Something fun that people don't know about us. I don't know. So I'm the pretty shy one, and she's the really outgoing one. And
Right.
Sure.
she drove me out into the streets here, and now I'm in the spotlight, and it's all because of her.
We just need to stop.
Now
We like to have fun, and he has totally brought me out of my comfort zone, and I'm doing things that I never in my wildest dreams would have ever thought. But we're goofy, and people that know me on a more serious level would never imagine some of the just weird, crazy stuff we do.
And it's the fun things is when people see the movie and they said, was that really real between you and your wife? And I say, you have no idea. I mean, she was the one that actually delivered my papers to me that says that if I pray, I'm going to be put on suspension. And then at the end of the year, she gave me my evaluation that says, do not rehire you. You no longer could be a coach here. So this was very much between us that this was a real battle of not just where we were Oh, lovey-dovey, like I like us to be. We were at so much at odds, and it put such strain on her in our relationship that I was hurting the person that I love most. And the fun thing with our kids, they're always the wild ones, but our kids, our daughter thought it was really cool that, that this was going on because we were trending on Facebook and Twitter, and then our middle son had no idea what was going on until we showed up on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. And he's like, "Oh my gosh,
Constitution.
this is a real thing." And so kids are just a trip.
That is so funny. What's a special life verse for you? Something that's you really were able to cling on to maybe be over the years?
For me, Jeremiah 29:11 and on, but I just have to remind myself that God has a plan to prosper us and, you know, to see us through all of it and to prosper and succeed. Succeed. Okay, we will succeed, whatever prosper might mean. Doesn't mean financial necessarily, prosper in our family, generations to come. That's my heart. I want to prosper and leave a legacy for our children and our children's children. And I think this conference was huge for me in opening my eyes of what I can do as a grandparent, how I can get involved in impacting the life of my grandchildren. There's some mighty ways I can do that as one whole grandma.
And there's a lot of people that will rally and support around that kind of purpose.
Yes.
You're not alone.
Yes.
We're here. There are so many of us out there. It's kind of fun to stumble across
It's
a group of great
amazing.
people.
Yeah.
like this.
My verse, as you notice, it's on my arm, 2 Timothy 4:7, and it's fight the good fight, finish the race, and remain faithful. And that was our big thing throughout this entire thing is that we are called to fight. We're not always here to just love. We are called to fight on this earth, and we've been given dominion over this earth. So we just needed to stay in the fight. We needed to remain faithful, and we wanted to finish strong. We wanted to do where at the end of our lives, God could look at us and say, "You did pretty good, kids. Nice job." Because nowhere in there, well, fight the good fight, finish the race, and remain faithful does it say we have to win. God's already got that victory, so we don't have to worry about that part of it. And the only thing we have to worry about is just being participants in it.
That's right. We are to do his bidding. And guess what? He is responsible for the results as long as we're faithful. And one of my favorites is Joshua 1:9, be strong and courageous. Have I not commanded you? And I think that's something you can probably relate to. And I wanted to, in closing here, I wanted to thank you guys for all that you're doing, being a good hero of the faith to all of us, a good example. That's good leadership. So never give up doing that. And looking forward to talking with you guys in the future about some marriage projects that are on the horizon. And I'm so excited to see you guys interested in wanting to strengthen and encourage marriage and family. And so how can people connect with you? Is there a website that they could go to?
Yeah, and I'm not very creative, so coachjoekennedy.com. And it's the easiest way to get all our information. And we are very much normal people. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram,
Sure.
everything. And yeah, feel free to contact us. And I can't wait to see what God has in our future. And I think he's called us, but this isn't by accident. So it's not just a coincidence we're here.
That's right. I want to encourage everyone to go see the movie Average Joe, go to their website. And as always, we want to give God the glory for what we're doing here in this podcast and our divine appointment here. And so we just give him all the glory and we love him for it. And I'm thankful for the both of you. And I just bless you in the name of the Lord.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bless you.